Hello everyone, no respawns here, hope you're doing well. So I've got another For Honor video for you today, and I thought I'd just give you a quick few tips, kind of some best practices for playing the Warlord. That's currently my favourite class. I'm going to force myself to play other heroes soon, but right now I have been racking up quite a few hours playing Warlord, and I like to think I'm pretty good. Most of the footage you're going to see is me from a trainer match against a bot, just because it was very, very difficult for me to specifically show you everything I was doing. So with the Warlord, I've been playing quite a few players and kind of seeing how they've been using the Warlord, and for the most part they tend to not take advantage of all of the tools the Warlord has at his disposal. Now for those of you who know, he does have a thing called full block. So what that is when you've got your guard up, if you pull down on the analog stick, I don't know the non-controller version just on the PC keyboard, but if you pull down you can do a full block, and what that does, it drains a little bit of stamina, and it will continuously drain stamina, but it blocks from all angles. Now what you want to do with this, or at least how I've been doing it, and I've looked around on Reddit and most people seem to agree, especially on the competitive subreddit Read the Warlord, is that you don't actually want to just kind of sit there hanging out in full block, because there's just no real point. It's more of a surprise thing. My kind of current best practice for me, which I've kind of had quite a lot of success with, is I keep my guard in the upper position with the shield above my head, and I either do just move my block from the left to the right as appropriate. I find from upper block it allows me to kind of get to left and right a little bit quicker, but also if I'm feeling like I want to just kind of be a bit more, just less predictable, what I like to do is just throw in every now and then a few full blocks down, followed by a heavy attack or a light attack, and that just generally throws people off, especially when it's especially useful when you're getting kind of really wailed on by someone with maybe a huge combo, or just, someone's doing a running, or if you just, it just seems to be quicker to do. I always find I can go to full block quicker than I can actually switch from left to right block. It involves, I guess, less cognitive thought in my mind. I don't have to think, oh god, what side are they attacking? I can just quickly pull back on the analog stick, do a full block, and immediately counter with a heavy or a light. And those of you know, the Warlord does pack quite a punch, so it's definitely something I highly recommend you get in the habit of throwing into your game quite a bit. If you take advantage of full block, often people don't see it coming, especially, kind of the intermediates. Obviously, people who experience playing Warlords know what you're up against. You do have to mix it up, but it's still, with the exception of guard breaks, which incidentally I'm still awful at countering, there's not really much you can do beyond just kind of getting me when my stamina drains. And that's a very good point with the full block. You can't abuse it constantly, because you will find your stamina disappearing, especially if you're like me, where you do love just kind of hammering out those heavy attacks. So it's just, move it into your rotation, but get used to the actual stamina drain before you overcommit. Now, thinking of full block and what it leads to is, what you can do from full block is you can do a headbutt. So what that means is you're in full block, you just press guard break, and you just immediately do a head block. It's unblockable, it knocks people back, and you can follow up with a kind of an unblockable light attack, which is really useful. Especially useful, actually. I'd highly recommend always following up the light, because it's just so fast that then just following up with a heavy doesn't really slow you down. However, I wouldn't recommend doing it from the full block. Now, the reason being is it's easier to do, and it is situationally useful, but the problem is it drains your stamina insane amounts. And again, just going to be hammering it home with the Warlord is stamina. Basically, you kind of want to be always pushing your stamina to limits with the Warlord. If you can't, you can just be kind of, one of those parrying counter Warlords, which I'm going to get to in a second. But if you want to have fun with the Warlord, you do want to be pushing your stamina, and I would just recommend just leaving that headbutt, full guard to headbutt, until you've situational, like the end of the fight, where you just need to kind of just get that extra quick damage in to finish them off. However, there are two other headbutts you can do. So you can do the kind of quite hop headbutt, as I call it, so where you just basically just on the PS4 controller, you just press X and forward quickly, and then follow up by guard break, and you headbutt them, and again just slam in with a light attack, stab them in the stomach. You can do a heavy as well. I just prefer the light because it always hits, and often if you use the heavy, they can block it in time. That's really useful. Or my, kind of one other one I like doing, which is obviously is if you just press forward and X, and then you do a heavy attack, you do a running leap, and then you can quickly, when the sword hits, as long as it does hit and hasn't been deflected or parried, you can just then follow up with a headbutt and a light. It's quite a fun little combo to do. It's often a nice way to initiate a fight, and even when people are used to it, people have a habit of not dodging it in time, which is always good fun. It tends to annoy people no end. It's quite a nice instigator, and also because you're a tankier class, people don't expect you to cover so much ground so quickly, especially with the running charge. And again, also because it's not a damage dealing unblockable, you can't parry it. To my knowledge, someone in the comments let me know if that's the case, but because it's an unblockable that doesn't deal damage, to my knowledge, I don't believe you can block it, or parry it rather, so that's always useful. Doesn't do a damage, but it does annoy people. So again, now obviously again with this guard I'm not really kind of going over all the techniques. This is just the kind of 3 things that I like, 3 or 4 things that I think are kind of core that you need to pay attention to. And moving on that, and the complete description of the Warlord, as it says, it's a counter. So it's good at countering. So it's a harasser as well, but it's good at countering. Now, let me preface this. In terms of parrying, I'm decent against the computer, and okay against other players. I tend to not do it because I feel it's a little bit too risky. As a lot of you know, when you try and parry, if you mess it up, you basically just end up you just eat a sword, or a spear, or a flail, or someone's halberd. You take a lot of damage. Yeah, it's a pain in the ass. However, it's something that, for me personally, I identify alongside my current guard breaks, but I believe they are patching that soon to make it a little bit easier. But parrying for me is the difference between me, how I feel I am upper intermediate, to it actually being quite a seriously good player. Now, with parrying, Warlord has an amazing technique. So if you do a heavy parry, you have 2 different kinds. So if you light parry, and what I mean by that is you can actually, for those who don't know what parrying is, by the way, is you have guard in the direction of what they're slashing, and then you time your heavy attack normally into their attack, and you parry it and you knock them back, and then you can follow it up with a light or a heavy, or whatever combos you have. With Warlord, what they can do is they can actually follow up with a light parry. Now, it's described in the moveset as, it's just always so bloody esoteric with their descriptions. But basically, it's that thing about light attacks. I can't remember what it actually says. And what you can do is you can, when someone attacks you, you can do a quick parry, and then, but it doesn't feel like a parry, which is why it doesn't really, it's sometimes hard to distinguish what you're actually doing in a lot of ways, which is why when I did it, I was like, did I do something? And then I got it. And it's kind of a little stab. The problem I have with this is because I said, especially on players, I'm intermediate or okay when it comes to parrying. If you fuck up, you eat a sword, and without even really doing any good damage. Heavy parries just seem easier to do, but I wanted to kind of highlight the fact that you can do a light, small parry. So with the heavy parry is really cool. So as you know, heavy attack into the direction they're attacking, move your block in the direction they're attacking, and it just knocks them back. Now, if you immediately tap guard break, and just trying to think of this as a kind of force of habit, so parry immediately hit square. If you're on a PS4 controller, you will do a shield bash. Now, this is an amazing attack that basically immediately knocks out all of their stamina. So often, and I believe as well, it stuns them, but I've never been the recipient of one of these. If I remember correctly, it does stun them as well. Now, you can do loads of things. You can follow it with a heavy, just do, kind of general combos. One thing I like doing, because it's quite a demoralizing attack, is to follow up with a throw. Those of you who should know this, but if you don't know, if your stamina's drained, you're just regrowing, you're in your stamina's a grey bar, basically. If you then get thrown or knocked in any way, you'll actually fall down. So it's great fun. You just knock someone's stamina, you parry their, the move they were going to use, you smash them in the face with your shield, you grab them and you throw them to the ground. It's quite fun to demoralize them, and then you can just heavy attack them. If your stamina's quite reasonably high, pick them up, throw them against a wall. It's especially good fun, against your peacekeepers who are being pain in the arses, or Nobushis if you actually manage to get the parry in. And it's good fun. I'll be completely honest, it's one of those things that I play against the bots a lot on this, and I'm going to get my friend to help me a little bit as well, just kind of practice my parry. But it is, once you do it, it is very satisfying, and you can pretty much getting that parry and that shield bash on, especially for kind of the squishier heroes, can effectively win you the fight if they don't recover from it quick enough. Anyway, I hope you guys found that interesting. As always, follow me on Twitter at norespawns. I will be keeping up with these For Honor videos quite a bit. This one admittedly was a little bit poorly structured, so apologies for that. I just wanted to kind of talk about the Warlord. If you like the format, let me know. If you want something a bit more tighter, I can do that as well, though I just thought a bit more of a ramblier video would be more me. Anyway, as always, follow me on Twitter at norespawns. I have a new video up tomorrow, and you guys enjoy the rest of your week. Take care.